Hi everyone, Teresa Aker here from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. It's my pleasure today to introduce you to Michael Bell. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing well, Teresa. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad you're here. Michael is a visionary and he's going to talk about what he's done in his life, all the achievements, and where he's going. So let's start at the beginning, Michael.
Okay. How far back do you want to go, Teresa?
And where, you know what? Success Diaries is about the journey to getting people to where they're going, their success stories, any adversities they overcame, and where they're headed. So you start wherever you like, wherever you feel comfortable, where your journey started to get to you here. How's that?
Yeah, sure. Oh,
Sure.
well, I guess in the earliest days of my life, I was raised by my father as a he was a single dad back in the early 60s. So that kind of put a unique spin on my life. And my early years were spent with my grandparents and my aunts and uncles. And it was my aunt who got me into music as a young kid. We used to sit and listen to her records. She was 8 years older than me, so I'd be in diapers and she'd be spinning the Jackson Five and Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and um, we, dance in front of the mirror and pretend to sing and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of gave me my first vibe for performing and. As people would clap and think it was really super cute that there was this little kid, dancing around, that sort of thing. So, I guess from the rest of that, I just, being musically minded all through my life and obviously through early school life, that kind of set me apart. I would sing in the choir, which would be filled with girls, and I'd be the only guy. And, um, had young bands. My first band, I was probably in grade six, um, and played, my first professional gig, which of course hooked me to the whole process of music, business, and performing.
What was the name of
And
your band in high school, Mike?
well, my most famous band was a band called Strobic Axe. Crazy name, but we were sort of an original new wave punk thing. We had a record. We were all in high school, just kids traveling around playing the clubs on the weekends, and had notes from our parents that allowed us to play in the bars because we were all underage. And we just,
Oh,
uh, yeah, and we carried our record wherever we went and sold it, a piece of vinyl. And yeah, that was towards the end of high school, early high school. My first band was called Future Shock. Didn't even know about the book, just thought it was a great name. And
I love it.
um, yeah, yeah, yeah. And we were just a cover band, and we had a bass player that really didn't know how to play, and he faked it. We turned him off completely, and I only knew a couple of songs to play on the guitar, so I just wore it as a prop, that sort of thing. So I've always been show business, Teresa. I've always been show business.
You
Yeah.
sure have. So
Yeah.
as your career goes and you're finishing off school, talk to us about the beginning of your, I guess basically your music big start.
Yeah. Well, when I left high school, I ended up traveling across the country with a good friend of mine, Martin Gallup, who went on to become a very successful producer in Europe. And um, he and I busked our way back and forth across the country. And then when I got back to Toronto, I ended up in a band called forming a band called II with another guy, Andy Ryan. And we went on to win a big radio contest and that sort of thing. But I really didn't like the music so much, but it was kind of a little too poppy for me.
Okay.
But it, gave me a good insight into what the business was all about and how little I knew about it. And um, and then I guess I at that time I put another a Bowie tribute together that was kind of all theater, no band, costumes, scrims, that sort of thing back in the 80s. Didn't like doing it either. Didn't like the idea of being somebody else, that's for sure.
Okay.
And then I met my wife, came off the road, and spent 30 years in the back end of the business, learning all the things I needed to know in order to, in my mind, come back out after my family, my daughters were grown and gone, and my wife and I were nearing retirement, and it was a way to go travel and get back into the business professionally, as opposed to, I was mucking around for 30 years just playing little uh, bar club dates once in a while for fun, but not taking it on anything seriously. So when I came back out about 10 years ago, I started singing Buble and Sinatra, and which is something I'm still doing. Um, and then David passed, and everybody suggested that I put this Bowie tribute together, and I wasn't really into the idea. It took me a year to mulling it over, and a good friend of mine, who's my musical director in the show, he said, "Listen, let me put a band together for you, and come out and see if you like it." And he put a killer band together with some all-star session guys, and it was great. And so right out of the gate, we were ready to play. And so, but then it did, in terms of talking about the Bowie show, I really had to build something that wasn't kind of just a tribute in that way. I wasn't going to be a Bowie impersonator. I needed to create a happening to the guy. He'd been such a huge influence in my early part of my life, from music to fashion, lifestyle, like all the craziness that went with his life. I was trying to emulate as a young, guy in my 20s, and so it really made sense to me to go out and be somebody who could create a happening and a celebration that everybody can take part in. So we have audience participation. We get people in the market to come and join us on stage and perform. We bring people from the audience up on stage who wear their swag or get dressed up as a Bowie. We have a bit of theater in the show that kind of talks about Bowie and what his fans meant to him and what he meant to his fans. And um, so, yeah, and that's where we are right now with the Bowie thing. Um, it's doing really well, and enjoy the band's great, and the material, of course, is great, and it's always changing and growing, and so it keeps me inspired all the time. There's a
Mike, are you
long-winded
doing?
answer.
No, that's great. People want to know. What I want to know is, where are you performing that now? Is it just like we're in Canada? I'm in Canada. Where are you actually performing? Is it everywhere? Where are you going?
Yeah, we basically just cycle around the theater market in Ontario. So we
Okay.
we uh, come into a market now. We're sort of, in some cases, we're a second or third time. Like we're in Oshawa at the Regent Theater in the fall for the third time, and
That's
we
where I
play in
am,
the
Michael.
fall. Oh, well, fantastic! You let me know if you need seats, and yeah. So yeah, it's basically Ontario theaters. We don't really go out. Well, we don't go outside. I mean, we played Quebec once, but
Yeah,
it's just too far. There's so many great theaters to play in Ontario,
there
and I've
is.
kind of made it part of my little wish list or bucket list to play all the theaters in Ontario. So we're just churning through them with the help of promoters, and we do a lot of self promoting ourselves, and yeah, and we've played some great rooms, and it's wonderful. Yeah, it's great, great crowds. Bowie fans are fantastic. So
Have you done the Regent Theater before?
we have actually, I
Yeah.
think this will be our third time in. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you said
Yeah,
that because this is a good theater to do. Oshawa's got a nice theater there. It's kind of nostalgic for us too, of course. So it's nice that you're doing that with Bowie. That's wonderful. And I had some of the pictures for you, so I'm going to promote that a little bit here on the show.
oh, great.
I'll do some reels for you, because if when you're coming back to Oshawa or wherever you are, yeah, I'll get a list of those shows and we'll promote it for you. Okay?
Yeah, great. That sounds great. Thanks for that.
Absolutely. So is that so right now that's your focus? That's what you're doing right now, or is there other projects you have?
Yeah, there are other musical projects. I've got my Buble show, which is going to debut in the fall, and we're playing Port Colborne down the Rose Lawn, and
Oh,
then
right.
we'll be booking into 2026. Uh, and that's singing, the songs of Michael Bublé, and of course other contemporaries as he does. He's for he does a lot of cover material. So um,
Yes.
yeah, so we're doing that, and that's great. I've been singing Sinatra and sort of adult contemporary my whole life, so I'm I'm excited to be singing that. I'm a sucker for a big ballad, so um, yeah, that's going to be fun. And then I also have, again, a selfish pleasure, I guess, is I'm doing a Talking Heads Blondie tribute I've put together where
Oh,
I'm doing the David Byrne in the big gray suit, and then I'm playing bass in the Blondie show. Jacqueline Serra is the playing the Deborah Harry in that show, and it's one set Talking Heads, one set Blondie, and we're just launching that out August 2nd. We're down in Toronto at the Duke for the first show, and I think that'll be a good summer festival show I can sell, um, because the Buble slows down in the summer. Excuse me, not the Buble, but the Bowie slows down. There's too many shows in my head these days.
I know.
I
I'm
have so
thinking,
much.
that's quite the range too, Michael. Like Bowie, Buble. Of course, Buble and Sinatra be kind of the same idea, but
Sure.
Bowie as well.
Yeah. Well, and the David Byrne has been I've been a Talking Heads fan my whole life, and it's been really fun, working up that material because you really have to learn how to unsing. The other two, Buble, Bowie, obviously big vocalists, Sinatra, of course, just big vocals,
Yeah.
big ranges, that sort of thing. David Byrne and the Talking Heads, I say to people, you have to kind of learn how to sing flat all the time, and you're doing all the things that you're taught not to do as a singer. Sing hard through your nose, and it's all very high and a couple of notes, small range, that sort of thing. So it's been really fun to again, unlearn how to sing. Um, so yeah, and I have a boatload of material I have to learn over the next couple of weeks that I'm so far behind. I took the entire month of June off and went away, and now I'm back and trying to get at it, that kind of thing.
Wow, are you ever talented? And I have a lot from your team that have sent me a lot of this wonderful presentations for you. So I'm going to be able to add that as well. But Michael, this is incredible. Honestly, what I'm thinking is, boy, you're a busy guy, and I know the musicians are busy. They're traveling all the time, and Ontario isn't a small place. You're traveling quite a distance, so that's pretty good. Now, you mentioned your wife, and does she travel with you, or you guys, is she part of the team? What's the plan there?
Yeah, she travels.
Yeah.
Occasionally she's busy too. We have a couple, five grandkids,
Oh,
and
nice.
and so and then she's also busy with other things, and
Yeah.
so sometimes she comes and sometimes she doesn't, and it just depends where the gig is and how far. If we're gonna drive back, that night, and we've got a 3 hour, she may go, yeah, I've seen the show, and
Yeah.
just not come. But yeah, it was all part of going back out. Was a big part of it was to have something that we could do together. She's the same woman that I left the business for back in the 80s. We're still together
Yeah,
40
that's
years
nice.
later. Yeah, so um, it was a good way just to kind of travel around Ontario, see a lot of places that I've quite frankly never really seen, like I've never, last year we did Fergus, the
I love
theater that
Cunningham.
who
It's a beautiful little town.
it is a incredible little town. I had no idea. I just thought it was kind of a bumpkin town in the middle of the fields and of Ontario. And yeah, so a lot of that is going into a market, having dinner at a different restaurant and having some fun, doing a little shopping the next day if we stay over. And we love to travel, so it made sense, and it's a good way to get your travel paid for, quite frankly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it would be interesting. So you mentioned you guys are retired, so it's kind of nice that you can do what you love. You kind of kept it alive all of these years. And now what I'm thinking is, so my next question to you would be, where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years? What's your plan?
Well, that's interesting. That I've kind of made. I'm a guy who's always planned my life. I when I think I learned it most as a young promoter, where you'd work on a show and then that show would be over and then you'd start working on another show and you'd realize there was this big hole in between one show and the next because you were working so hard on the one show you forgot to put another one in place to work on, as to keep. So I learned to make a lot of short-term goals. And then when I became a magazine publisher, of course it's all about deadlines and it's all about goals and it's all about setting a time frame when this has to be done and all things have to be in place to go off to the printer. And then I did a lot of festival and event management as well. And again, it's one of those businesses that you have to plan. That date comes, there's no, oh, maybe I'll do it tomorrow or I'll push it ahead. You're just constantly creating, deadlines for yourself. So in that spirit, I've spent my whole life in that spirit. Given that your podcast is about success stories, that's been always the best bit of mentoring I've ever had from some super successful people I've met over my life that have always suggested that it's all about deadlines and lists, they say. And they would, the two guys in particular that are seniors to me have had incredibly successful careers. They both these guys were just always binders and lists and deadlines to like get this done by this date and this done by this date. So interesting that you say 5 years, because that's basically what I've given myself to perform for the next 5 years. And unless something, crazy happens that keeps me on the road, um, at the end of 5 years, I'd like to stop performing. And I'm now building a bunch of shows that with other performers, other artists that I'll manage, book, get them out there,
Okay.
and then have those to promote and work after I come off the stage. I mean, there's part of me that would love to think that I could do it forever, but I mean I'm getting up there. Let me tell you. So they become more exhausting. That's a number one, and then there's just other things I'd like to do as opposed to just kind of tying myself down. I always have to, because we play all fall. Um, I get offers from friends to come visit in other countries and that sort of thing, and in the fall, and of course I can't do it.
Yeah.
And like my wife and I lived in Australia for a couple of years,
Oh,
and we were
nice.
talking about maybe we'd like to go back there or somewhere else and live for a bit or half the year or something. So I don't want to be pegged down in my final years to,
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
be on stage, that sort of thing. So yeah,
And you have grandchildren too, so that's a part of your life. That's wonderful. I want to ask you, can we circle back and talk about your magazine just a little bit? Tell us about that,
sure,
what you're doing there. I know
sure.
you have a successful magazine. What's the title? What is it about? Tell the audience so that we can circle them over to it.
Yeah, well, it doesn't exist. COVID took me out.
Oh,
I
okay.
was
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was kind of at the end of it anyways. I'd been publishing for 30 years. It was called The Wire magazine,
Yeah.
not to be confused with the big fat glossy job out of the UK, which actually came out after we did. I started publishing in 89. I think they started publishing in 91. They wouldn't have known. It wasn't like, we stole each other's thing. I didn't even know about them until probably 15 years after I'd been publishing. But we were a tab, like a Now magazine, a
Oh, okay.
newsprint tabloid. And at one point, we were all over central and eastern Ontario. We distributed as far as Brockville, Cornwall, Belleville. Had a office in Kingston, up to Barrie, down to Oshawa, kind of everything in between. Um, and we went out once a month for years, and then we went out every 2 weeks for years, and it was like an entertainment alternative thing. So we were talking about, medical marijuana when,
Sure.
back in the 90s, and environmental issues and social issues. And I've always been kind of politically minded. I actually ran in two federal elections for the Green Party. Um,
Congratulations.
and yeah, it was a good learning curve,
Yeah.
and and then helped manage a couple other campaigns on a provincial level, and was the CEO here in Peterborough for probably 10 years, and got involved in a bunch of different social initiatives in Peterborough and surrounding area. Um, so yeah, the magazine always helped, and then I launched because I was publishing one, I could publish others. So I had an environmental magazine called the Green Zine for a while, and a bunch of directories, and um, yeah, just it was the publishing game. Like
Yeah.
it's a non-stop. Like it's again one of those guys. It's like being on stage. Show must go on. Doesn't matter what happens. You got to
That's
get
right.
it to press. You can't miss your press time. So very much in the same bent as the performance, where it doesn't matter how bad you feel. You have to. You got to take that Sudafed or whatever it is you're going to take and get back out on stage, and hope that people don't notice you sneezing, or your sore throat or whatever it is. Show must go on. So yeah,
And
that was kind of publishing.
you're up in Peterborough, and that's a nice area actually, where you're that beautiful area up there, and that would be a green area. So I can see that you'd be wanting to make sure everything environmentally is good. And I know that area is absolutely lovely. I just wanted to say that, very pretty up there. So good for you. You have a nice community. I wondered now, so if people wanted to reach out to you right now, are you on, what's the best way for them to reach you, Michael?
Well, me personally, there's a Facebook page.
Okay.
Um, Michael, it's like Michael underscore Bell underscore at Facebook. Um, thebowielives.com,
Okay.
uh, discovermichael.com. Uh, yeah, there's a number of ways. Like you can just Google me, and I'm pretty out there. I was a early adopter of the internet back in the early '90s, and so I managed to get my name out there a lot. So there's lots of references. Something will turn you back to me if you just go, Michael Bell, Canada singer or something like that. uh, you'll definitely find things, whether it's my original music or the Bowie shows or the production company Outshout, or The Wire. The Wire's still online.
Oh, it is.
It's
Okay.
inactive. Yeah, it's kind of inactive. Basically, it's a place that I've archived
Sure.
a bunch of the interviews. I'm just slowly archiving old interviews, and we did interviews. I did interviews on the cover, just like the Rolling Stone, copped, or Interview magazine, or Now magazine. So, and a lot of them were in the early days, especially. I got some, big Gene Simmons of Kiss and Michael Stipe, and
Oh, wow.
lots of big American and of course Canadian stars as well. So they're kind of fun. So I thought I'd archive all that stuff um, just
It
so I
seems
would
like
never
there's a
forget.
book in the works here, Michael.
Well, maybe like if I
Yeah.
ever get time, I got a couple of books in my head, but man, it's just where do you find the time where do these guys find time to write books? That's what I wondered.
The funny part is you said you guys were retiring, and here you are busier probably than ever, right?
It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
We thought, oh, we'll finally get to sit down. My wife was a nurse, a mental health nurse
Oh,
for
wow.
her career, so she was super busy all the time as well, and between the two of us, and then raising the kids and all that kind of stuff. And then we thought, by the time we get, but now, yeah, and especially both our daughters live in Peterborough, so all our grandkids are here.
Nice.
So we
Oh,
see
that's
them
nice.
all the time, and we're part of the Uber Scoober brigade, and um, yeah, and then we travel a lot. Like I said, we just got back. I was in Europe for 30 days, all for the month of June, so traveling all over there, and
Oh, nice.
and
That's nice.
uh, yeah, and then we come back and we get summer, and we I ride a motorcycle, so we ride, and she's got a little roadster, she drives, and then and then we're into the fall, which is just full on Bowie, and then Christmas comes, and then January we go south, and then rah 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 rah. So yeah, there's doesn't seem to be any time to sit down and be old people.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You're not ever going to be. That's what I think it's fascinating that you're still doing it. I love that so many of our generation is saying, nope, we're not stopping. We're going to keep going and staying healthy and active. That's the most important, Michael. And you've got a beautiful family you get to enjoy and wow, this is a fantastic life. So I think that's incredible. Good for you.
Yeah, I feel really blessed. There's no doubt about it. And
Yeah.
um, a friend of mine said to me the other day, he goes, "Man, you got an incredible life." And I said,
Yeah.
"Well, that was the plan." Further this whole idea of like make a plan. If these are the things you want to do, you make your list and you go down your list and you figure out how it is you're going to actualize that stuff. And and it doesn't come overnight. You have to have a lot of patience to wait it out, to put the you know proper resources in place or the timeline to do things. But I think a lot of folks, they kind of give up on stuff. They go, "Oh, it would be great to do this, but blah blah blah."
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
all the excuses. Why not? Well, sometimes you think at least myself, I think, okay, this is what I'm going to do 2 years from now. And what is it I'm going to get myself? How am I going to get myself to that point? And then you make a plan how to get to that point, and you continue to actualize that plan until that happens, until you get that skill that you want, or visit that place you wanted to visit, or whatever it happens to be. Um,
And you're
and yeah,
teaching your
that
family, the young people, that it's important to keep going and stay strong and have a plan themselves. So that's good for you and your wife to do for your family.
yeah, absolutely. Like both my kids are super keeners. They're both have very successful lives, and they're doing the things they want to do, and they made plans to get to where they are, and they're doing well. They're not struggling, other than the way we all struggle, I guess. But
Yeah.
you know, but
Normal
they're
life.
yeah, well, they have exceptional lives too, I think, and again, I think has a lot to do with just that planning
Yeah.
and realizing that things don't happen overnight, that you gotta work, make a plan, and continue to work towards that plan, and not get halfway through and go, oh well, it's too much work, or
Yeah.
I've changed my mind, or whatever. So if that's a message out to people who are struggling with trying to realize their dreams or something, it's really like, have the patience, make the plan. That would be my advice anyways. Seems to have worked okay for me. I don't know.
Thank you for your advice. That's great advice, honestly. Thank you so much. So from this point, you'll get all of those tours over to us so that all of my viewers can go to your shows and make sure we have all of that, Michael. I'll get your team to make sure they get me the list. And from
Yeah,
here, I had one more question for you.
sure.
We've had such a great time today. You're wonderful. You're doing a lot of things. Would you come back and do another episode down the road? Let us know how you're doing on your tour.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I could talk about other things too. It doesn't always
Sure.
have to be about the music. I don't know if your show is centric to music centric, but there's I've just had an amazing 30 days bicycling through Europe, which I know
Oh,
that there would be lots of people who would be. I
yes.
would have always loved to have done that. And even myself, before I did it, this is not my first time doing this. I When I would hear of people that would say, "Oh, they just did a bicycle tour or something," and I'd think to myself, "Man, I'd really like to do that." And then it took, a few years to figure out how I could pull that off, and had a good buddy in Berlin who is an avid biker, and all of a sudden he and I were, on bikes on our first trip. We rode from Dresden to Prague and in the Czech Republic, and then and every year we've done a trip, and it gets easier and easier as to what to expect,
Right, right.
and all the things. So yeah, there's I got lots of stories,
That
Teresa.
would
Let me
be,
tell you.
yeah, Michael, that would be wonderful. I would love that. Absolutely. So I invite you down the road, but you let me know when it's convenient. I know you're busy, when it's convenient for you, and we'll reconnect. I would love that. And I know my viewers would like that too. So thank you so much for offering that.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Michael, thank you so much. I truly appreciated our time today. Everyone, this is Michael Bell. Do go over, I'm going to make sure all his information's here, all the tours that you're going to be able to go to his shows and take a look. He's very talented, and we'll see him on another show with what you're doing. Thank you so much, Michael. To everyone else, this is Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. Do subscribe to my channel. I truly appreciate that. I hope you're all having a great day, and I look forward to talking to you all soon. Bye-bye now.